All right. Well, thank you for joining us today for our webinar on LumiDB. We're going to give everyone a few more minutes to join before we start the meeting. For those of you just joining us, we're going to give everyone about one more minute, and then we'll begin today's webinar, our second webinar in a three-part series on LumiDB and some of the applications. I think we can go ahead and get started. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today for this three-part series at Vertical Aspect with our partner, LumiDB. My name is Christian Stallings. I am the president here at Vertical Aspect. Vertical Aspect is a partner with LumiDB. LumiDB is a cloud software that helps enterprises in various different ways. And we are doing a three-part series on some of those different use cases for LumiDB, whether you are a service provider looking for an application to host and share data with customers, or a enterprise software development team looking for robust tools to integrate point cloud visualization and sharing and data management within your own software development, which will be our third part. And municipalities and data buyers looking for ways of hosting data they've collected, both for internal use cases, to share internally within organizations or share externally with different users of that data, which is what we'll be talking about today. I'm joined by Xavier Aranya, who is the head of business development at LumiDB, to talk about some of those different use cases that municipalities and data buyers can use LumiDB for, and some of the different features and integrations that are beneficial and useful for those end users. A little bit of housekeeping. If you have any questions, there is a Q&A section. We encourage you to place your questions there. And at the end of the presentation, we will answer those questions. And so without further ado, I'm going to hand it over to Xavier to discuss some of the great features that LumiDB has for municipalities, different data buyers, and how they can share that information.
Okay, good morning. Good morning. Thank you, Christian. Thank you very much. And thanks everyone for making the time today. So as Christian already introduced, my name is Xavier. I'm a lead to go market here at LumiDB. It's pleased to be with you here today. So I'd like to welcome all the viewers wherever you are. And I'm also joined by our CTO, Yasin Bushnayev. So between the two of us, we should be able to respond to pretty much anything that comes up, whether that's technical or otherwise. As Christian already said, this is the second of our three-part webinar series together with Vertical Aspect. The session one was about sharing data with TerraSolid users from the moment the point cloud is processed and ready, and how it gets to the people who actually need it. And today it will be entirely about municipalities and data buyers. So what happens to, for instance, citywide LiDAR archive after the capture has already been paid for? And later this month, we will have a third session who will go a little deeper onto the API topic for anyone building software or working inside a larger enterprise architecture. But before we get into today's topic specifically, I'd like to very briefly remind you who LumiDB is in case this is the first time you are hearing the name. Then we'll move quickly into what's more specific to today. So the short version would be that LumiDB is a spatial data warehouse. Spatial data warehouse is a data management system that stores current and historical spatial data, that being point clouds, rasters, vectors, and all the project bundles that travels with them from every capture source in a reachable, ready-to-use manner for easier access, connection, and sharing. So LumiDB facilitates customer-facing project sharing, GIS, CAD, being connectors, AI inspection pipelines, digital twins, and spatial analytics as well. And LumiDB also makes possible to very quickly and easily reach massive point cloud archives captured from operational systems such as drones, mobile mapping units, or terrestrial laser scanners. So data may pass through a processing toolchain such as TerraSolid and require spatial indexing to ensure query performance before it becomes reachable in a warehouse for every GIS, CAD, and AI workflow that needs it. So that being said, I will also conclude by saying that our team or our company was founded from people that came out mostly from Amazon, where a few of us spent years building mapping and geospatial platforms that had to handle enormous archives reliably. And using and reusing big archives reliably is the core of today's session, which could be summarized in a single sentence. It is expensive to capture a citywide data. Unfortunately, though, in most of the cases, this data is heavily unused. So it requires a big effort from a city point of view. Often you need to subcontract a lot of work, or perhaps hire a specialty aircraft or vehicle, train crews, and it also involves weeks of processing. And what most often happens is that once it is delivered, it is only one team or a limited amount of teams who really control and have access to the data. And this implies that the other potential users don't take advantage of the data the way it should be. So there are different studies made that tell that up to 90% of the data that is captured is actually or often is unused. We have a case study of the city of Helsinki, who was one of the early adapters of LumiDB. And for the audience to know, Helsinki in Finland manages one of Europe's largest municipal point cloud archives. Helsinki has an aerial data, but also mobile mapping datasets, terrestrial datasets. So all of that combined and large datasets took approximately 10 to 15 minutes to open in different desktop tools, and most staff could not access them without specialists' support. So the team relied on repeated site visits and file transfers across the different systems. So the solution that Lumi provided was a SaaS environment to test the browse-based access onto a multi-gigabyte datasets stored in Amazon S3 with fast visualization, structured querying, and interoperability with a number of tools that the city of Helsinki was already using it. So in case any of you wants further information on this case study, you can go onto or press onto QR code that you can see in your screens, or visit lumidb.com and press on the upper side, you will see case studies. But so the question of who's this for? So the same archives lands differently depending on every different role. Even though it reaches all the same way. So if you are a GIS center or a data team, having LumiDB would mean that your team would get fewer requests. And in other words, this meaning greater time to spend in other important tasks. If you belong to a planning or urban development team, it means that you would have greater freedom to look at the data in order to make smarter decisions without having to wait someone else's decision or time. If you are in the team of asset management and utilities, you would be able to make year over year or scan to scan comparisons, verify what changes, and again, make smarter decisions without a new site visit. And then again, if a city needs to communicate certain decisions to its residents or whoever stakeholder, they can also engage in an easier manner through any web browser. So this is all linked with the idea that we've been telling from LumiDB that is summarized as follows. Capture has scaled, access hasn't. Throughout the last decade or so, we have seen an increasing amount of low cost and also lower end hardware systems that provide greater amount of data coming from everywhere. So the capture has really scaled, where even cities have enormous amount of multi-source data, but unfortunately the access is where the bottleneck continues to be. So there are two different reasons. One is that data can be scattered across different teams, across different teams may have different drives, portals, or even sometimes it is as an attachment in an email, which is difficult to reach, difficult to search, and difficult to share. And then this creates a massive bottleneck that often requires an expert to handle, to open, and to actually provide a non-specialist with a small piece of data. And these two things lead into underutilized data of up to 90% that we already mentioned. So the pipeline or the workflow also continues being relatively manual, or by manual we mean more conventional, in which the data is captured, the data needs to be processed, there can be several iterations, and then everything needs to be exported, downloaded, uploaded onto the derivative format that it is wanted as an output. So this would be a high-level architecture for LumiDB. LumiDB, we have the control panel right in the middle and the storage layer that lies beneath. And on top of that is the viewer, is what our most of our users see and use the tool to visualize and to perform the queries. But as you can see, LumiDB is connected to the entire workflow, from the scanning and pre-processing all the way to the export of data through an API, or the streaming that we provide to different software that you can see in your screens. All of that within seconds, without having to wait valuable time any longer. So there are three things, as we already said, that we provide our users with ease. One is the sharing for customers. So you may have users or non-specialist people who are unable to look at the data, who are unable to visualize, who are unable to use it for decision-making purposes. So LumiDB provides a link, a browser-based link that allows anyone with no installation, with no training, to be able to visualize, but also make analytics out of data. We also have the connector. So as I said, the workflow stays connected through LumiDB, and we currently connect to lighter software such as TerraSolid, or to more of a in-product type of GIS software such as Esri ArcGIS or QGIS, among others. And also there is a possibility to work heavily based on API, and this is a topic that we will further analyze in the next webinar series by the end of August. So the benefits are clear. We enhance the utilization and the access of data. So less time is needed to get your data ready to become actionable. This consequently provides a higher value for your data, and also provides the possibility to make automated analysis out of your data. So having shown these slides, I'll provide you with, I'll continue with a small demo, and we will have a look at 4 different concepts, which is the comparison of different datasets. It's the browse access for non-specialists, also how different departments can work with the same archive, and last but not least, we will also connect LumiDB with ArcGIS and QGIS. So bear with me. I will now play a video. Just a second. You can see the video, yes. So we are now in the control panel of LumiDB, where we can see all the projects and the size of each of the projects. So we have currently 20 different projects that contain different datasets, from point clouds to rasters and also vectors. I'll go straight on to my Helsinki dataset, and we have an orthophoto there. We also have a digital elevation model now displayed. I will hide them as I will focus today in point clouds. The data is courtesy of the city of Helsinki, by the way. There we have a mobile mapping dataset from the district of Jätkäsaari. We do also have a bunch of other smaller datasets coming from some infrastructure projects and some newly built districts in the northern part. How to import data? Here we have the import button with the point cloud rasters and GeoJSON as vectors. One simply needs to drag and drop data. You give a name, you input the correct EPSG code. You can add any metadata you like that can be used later on to query. You press import and the data is directly imported into your project. So now we have an airborne laser scanning dataset from 2021 from the city of Helsinki, where the point density is of about 30 points per square meter. And now we are looking at the data combined, the airborne laser scanning data combined with the mobile mapping data. There we see in different colors, the green color representing the mobile mapping data and the blue color representing the airborne data. So we can very easily hide and even lock datasets so no one else can accidentally check in. As you can see, the streaming is instant. I'm going to move a little more towards the city. There we can see the different attributes included in the data from the RGB coloring, also the classification. We can see all the different classes that have been classified in TerraSolid's TerraScan. For this particular case, we can select anything we want. I toggled on everything again. There we see the mobile mapping data with a bunch of far more different classes. I go back to intensity. We have the flight line information or drive passes. If we talk about mobile mapping data, we do have the tiles also, 500 meters times 500 meters. The data set, and we do have a different data to show to you. One of them is indoors. There you see. This was captured by a terrestrial scanner. And if we move around and maybe show through intensity, you will see we are currently at a theater. So this was courtesy of Nordic Geocenter, service provider in Finland. And as you can see, a scan that is hundreds of points per square meter with a scan that is 30 points per square meter. They're both perfectly aligned and georeferenced. There we see the points by elevation, and then there are a bunch of extra data that can be computed in your LiDAR processing software that can be visualized. We will look into that a little later. I can enter an address. I'll go to a recent construction area in the outskirts of the city of Helsinki. I'll need to change the elevation range to display things a little more clearly. And I will draw an area for you to see how easy it is. There I get the area in square meters, but I will also get the information regarding the volume in cubic meters. It takes a little bit of time to display this information, mainly because of the screen recording, but eventually it should be displayed to you. If we wait a little bit, there I'm drawing a cross section I'll show you the area in a few moments. There we see a cross section. I can give a depth according to the specific need, and there I make a measurement of that particular building, also of the staircase and the angle, and the different measurements are computed automatically. I'll clean that out. You see how easy it is to make a cross section. And there we see again our area. Now the volume has been computed in cubic meters, as you can see. It should be faster than that. It is because of the screen recording that the display is a little slower, clumsier than what it should be. The next thing I will do is to share a piece of data for you to see how every department can have access, or even outside, anyone outside the department. There we see the different roles we can provide to those with whom we want to share our data. The viewer only can visualize, the analyst can perform some, or can also leave some marks by means of lines and other data type. And the admin has full control. I created a public link. I opened a browser, and as you can see, anyone with the public link can have instant access to the data. And if I send an invitation, a personalized invitation, not a public link, you will see this is the type of email that that particular person or stakeholder will receive in their inbox. It could also contain a customized logo of your own brand, city, Department of Transportation, whatever is the organization you work at. As simple as that. I will delete that. And the next thing I'll focus on is the comparison over the different years we talked earlier about. If you are a person who's dealing with asset management or in utilities, this might be of high relevance to you. Here we have a tool to compare the different datasets. We are now at the outskirts of the city of Helsinki in the northern part, and we have the same data collected over the year 2021 and 2024. And as you can see, the yellow color represents change. And there has been a significant change in this given area where there used to be a park, there is a building. But not only that, the year 2021, the scan from the year 2021 did not have any hits on the facade, or it had limited hits on the facade. The one in 2024 contains a lot more hits. So it also talks about completeness. It also talks about different spatial data quality parameters that can be of great relevance to your department, unit, organization, and to be able to display this so clearly, so easily, to be able to share that with anyone this clearly, I think it is quite a value. I went back to downtown Helsinki, and what I'm gonna do is one of the last things, which is feed the city's GIS and digital twin. I select an area of interest, easily selectable, and how to connect with ArcGIS. I get an I3S link, I copy the link, And the next thing I'll do is I'll open my ArcGIS Pro. It could also be done similarly in ArcGIS Online. We'll need to open our local scene and simply press Map and add data from path. I'll paste my link. I'll put the API related information. I've been working with it before, so I don't need that. But if this was the first time, I need to put my API key in there, and we see that the streaming happens instantly. There we can see the different visualization possibilities within ArcGIS. Remember that I3ES is a visualization protocol. If you want to process further this data in ArcGIS, you will need to use a tool called ExtractLAS. Simply input in the point cloud we are using, the target folder, and run the tool. It should take not more than half a minute, and you will have your data ready. And the API key, if this was the first time, that's where you can get. So we will need to copy, and ArcGIS would request that for us. The same can be done in QGIS with point clouds, with the advantage that in QGIS you can directly use it for processing purposes. And the same can be done as well with rasters. And the next thing I'll do is to export this raster, the one we have, an orthophoto that you see now on display. I will export it the same way, but this time into QGIS. So again, I get a link. I'll need to copy that link, and I'll go straight into QGIS, and I'll need to make a new connection. I'll give it a name. I'll paste the URL, and I'll need to enter the API key details, same as I will need to do it for ArcGIS. I paste it, I press OK. And I add the layer into the project. And let's double check that it's correctly georeferenced. There it is. And if we zoom in a little closer, you will see that it is a perfect match. So this is how easily Lumi connects into the different software, and in the future it will even become easier, as we're currently working on ways of making the connection even more seamless. This concludes the demo for today. If you have any question related to the demo, we will briefly address those. And so I will go back. Yeah?
No, sorry, go ahead.
Yes, I'll go back into the slides. Sorry. Okay, the video got jumped for some reason. Just a second. Apologies. I'll share again. You still see the video there, right?
Yeah.
Supposed to be closed, but
There we go.
anyway, I just was going to mention that this was session 2 about ways of utilizing data more efficiently. We saw different things. We saw how a single archive can be used by different departments. We saw how browser access is an easy way for a non-specialist to get a real glimpse of the data and to be able to use it in many different ways on the process of making smarter decisions. We also saw the possibilities on comparing data and how it enhances the in this case improvement in data quality, but it may enhance many other things. And also we saw a way to feed a series GIS or digital twin systems by means of the connection into ArcGIS and QGIS. So I didn't show everything in ArcGIS, I didn't show everything in QGIS, but the process in both software is relatively similar. That's why I showed point cloud in ArcGIS and a raster into QGIS, but could have been done the other way. And as I said, this concludes the session 2. The session 3 will be about API, how to make your workflow more automated. Our API is an API is an incredibly powerful way to make a lot of things. And session number 3 is a must see if you are interested on this topic. I also should mention that it is our CTO Yasin Bushnayev who will run these sessions. So it is a great opportunity to also ask far more technical questions that can be related onto the API topic. Last but not least, where to find us, come to say hello. We'll be on the road this upcoming fall. The soonest you will meet us is in the commercial UAV Expo, where I think Christian, you will also probably attend, and so we'll be there together with Vertical Aspect and other peers. Please stop by. We are at the Startup Zone, centrally located, so we'll be more than happy to show you the product with your own data or respond to any particular question or interest you may have. And then again, InterGeo will be at InterGeo shortly after Vegas, also with our own booth located in the main hall. So if you are there, if you plan to be there, please drop us an email. We'll be delighted to meet anyone there. From my side, that's all. I once again want to thank you, the attendees, for being here today, and also Christian, Caroline, the Vertical Aspect team for hosting the webinar. If there are any questions, I'll be more than happy to respond to them together with our CTO, Yasin, who should also be here next to us. And other than that, it was a pleasure. Thank you very much.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Xavier. We do have some questions, and if you have any other questions, please put them in the chat, and we will do our best to answer those. As Xavier mentioned, August 26th will be the third part in this 3-part series, talking about some of the API functionalities. So again, if you are building software and you need a performative and cost-effective point cloud solution within that software, LumiDB has some great options, and Yassine will go through some of those different tools that exist. So you can think about how those can be integrated within your own software stack. I'm going to go ahead and read some of the questions to you, Xavier and Yassine. The first question, can we control who sees what within LumiDB? Can we make some of the data public, or internal users or residents, and keep sensitive layers, or make some layers public and then keep more sensitive layers internal so that we have a single repository where we're both sharing data internally and externally?
Is Yasin around?
He is muted. Let me see if we can mute him.
The answer is yes, we can. But Yasin can probably go a lot more concrete with examples. Yes.
Yes. So thank you. Yeah. So as Xavi said, the answer is definitely yes. So we offer a fine-grained, like a role-based access control system where each individual can be granted different kinds of roles, ranging from admin to pure read-only rights to different data sets. And on top of that, you get mechanisms for controlling shareable links separately from that. So you can basically share your projects through links and then control who, like what type of access those links grant whoever gets access to the link as well. So yeah, in short, the answer is yes.
Next question. Is our data secure? Can this be deployed on our own infrastructure rather than a public SaaS? Maybe speak about kind of the standard hosting, what some of the different hosting options are for end users.
Right. So obviously the kind of default option that we typically talk about is the managed SaaS platform, which we offer for a number of users. But then again, we of course have realized that it's not suitable for all types of data and certainly not for all types of users as well. So there's a spectrum of different options from which to select the most suitable option for deployment, ranging from the what I just mentioned, the managed SaaS platform, all the way to fully on-prem deployment that we're currently working with some enterprise users to make that happen as a kind of a readily available product as well. So it's not quite there yet, but it is something that we are currently working on with our users. And then there's a range of different options in between. So one being, just as an example, what we call bring your own bucket, where LumiDB, the indexing and the metadata creation will still run on LumiDB managed servers, but all the data at rest will reside on the customer's own S3 bucket or on Azure object storage. So that's an option as well. So, depending on the specific needs on data governance or security and what have you, there's a variety of things that can be done there.
Here's one about some of the functionality. Can we export a cross-section as an image or PDF? And the use case is planning needs this for permitting packets, not just an on-screen view.
What a great question, since we are actively working on this feature request right now with some of our users. So the answer right now is that you can work around that issue by just taking a screen cap of the cross-section tool that we currently have in the browser. But soon we will have capability of actually generating like a PDF report directly from the cross-section. We're also discussing exporting like various vector formats or different types of, more involved specific domain specific formats from the cross-section itself. If there's a specific need or file format that you would like to see in the product, reach out and we'd be happy to, continue discussion there.
Sean, can you speak a little bit about current vector visualization and important future functionality within LumiDB for vector features?
Right. So right now we support different types of vector data. Most of our users, what they do is they bring in like GeoJSON files, where it could be something relatively simple, such as like simple annotations or like plot lines or points of interest that we simply then overlay on top of the map. But we're also seeing like some of our users bringing in like pretty intensive data sets, which is essentially like CAD data on top of 3D point clouds and contours and what have you. And we are like expanding on that support as well. So bringing in more formats in which to import and in which to export this kind of data as well, and making the rendering of it more streamlined and efficient as well. Then down the line, obviously we're talking about features such as like generating 3D meshes and bringing in like BIM models and whatnot. They are items still on the roadmap that we are kind of currently working on, but all kinds of big plans in addition to simply bringing in like 3D point clouds and raster formats that we currently support quite extensively.
Next question. Does staff outside the GIS team need to install anything on their computer, get trained on any GIS tools for to use LumiDB? I assume you're referring to QGIS or GIS.
Right. So currently you don't really need to install anything. So all the obviously LumiDB itself has a web-based interface which will run on any computer with a web browser. But in addition to that, like if you want to connect LumiDB into some of these software such as ArcGIS, you don't really need to install any extra plugins or anything like that. It'll work out of the box. The product itself has instructions on how to connect a LumiDB dataset into ArcGIS or QGIS, and you don't need to install pretty much anything. So yeah, no external dependencies there. Just want to kind of segue this a little bit. What we are actually seeing our users do, and maybe as a kind of a sneak preview on the upcoming webinar where we talk more about the API itself, some of our users are actually using our API to kind of connect it to Claude Code or Codex or what have you, and then are kind of vibe coding these small utilities or dashboards, directly talking with LumiDB to get the visualization that they want, or a specific workflow that they want, or a dashboard that they want to show a decision maker. So these kinds of things are also possible using LumiDB, but maybe more about those topics in the upcoming session.
Looking forward to talking about the different ways that the data can be queried in a custom way. Here's another question. Okay, does the web browser platform allow for local LES downloads, either as existing tiles or custom AOI shapes? And I would add, in addition to that, what are the different the answer is yes, and Yassine will elaborate, but also what are the different options when downloading it, coordinate systems and filtering?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we enable you to download, first of all, like if you want to kind of go back to the original files, you of course can, and then you could either do that by clicking on a data set and then downloading the original files from which the data set in LumiDB was generated from or indexed. But then you can also, there's a mechanism for you to basically draw an area of interest on the map. You can then, like, very dynamically, you can combine multiple data sets within that area. You could either download the original ones that intersect that area, or you could then just generate this kind of combined, cropped, filtered combination of the data, and then you can select, like, if it's going to be LAZ or if it's going to be E57 or some other standard format. You get to choose, and LumiDB will dynamically generate that for you. Then you're also able to basically specify the output coordinate system into which you want to reference it. So it could be the original one that's in the data, or it could be something else that we then dynamically convert the data into. Or you can even remove the georeferencing altogether by providing some offset into which to, like basically if you have a local construction project and a reference point, then you can provide that, and then LumiDB will simply transform the data into a project local coordinate system as well. So essentially removing georeferencing. So that's the power of the dynamic, database-esque mechanism, that you can dynamically do all these kind of operations in a very, very convenient, user-friendly way. So basically making the data more accessible very easily.
So to expand on that, for example, in the demonstration that Xavier gave, where we have the mobile data set and the airborne laser scanning data set or the terrestrial data set, you can query an area and grab a single data set from those multiple input data sets.
Yes, precisely. And then take it out as any file format that you want, or even like share a link to it or whatever.
Questions that we have right now. And if there's any more questions, please put them in there and we'll answer them. If not, I want to thank everyone for attending today's demonstration of LumiDB, and encourage everyone again to attend the August 26th webinar, the third part in our series, to talk about the API functionality and I'm excited to hear some of the vibe coding stories from some of the end users. That's very fascinating. This webinar has been recorded. We will have this hosted on our YouTube channel. We'll send the link out to anyone who was unable to attend. Xavier and Yassine, thank you so much for showing LumiDB's functionality for municipalities and data collectors. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. And